of a system. In Egyptian cosmology, Anubis plays a similar role. In the Tibetan system, the peaceful and wrathful deities encountered in the Bardo state function as gatekeepers, whose job is to test and potentially redirect the consciousness of the dying person. Occam's razor, applied consistently, should produce some discomfort here. Together, these fragments describe what might be called the architecture of the afterlife in extraordinary technical detail. The underworld is described as having specific zones, a region near the surface where freshly dead souls arrive, still holding some residual awareness and memory. A middle region where the stripping process occurs, administered by beings whose function is explicitly described as the removal of attributes, and a deep region called the land of no return, which is not a punishment for the wicked, but simply the default destination for all human souls. The phrase land of no return is one of the most widely recognized terms in Sumerian scholarship. It appears across dozens of texts, and it is almost always interpreted metaphorically. The dead simply do not return to the living. That is the conventional reading. But some researchers argue for a more literal reading. Land of no return does not mean the dead do not return to the physical world. It means the consciousness that arrives in the deep underworld does not return to itself. It is not the body that does not come back. It is the memory, the identity, the thread of awareness that would allow the soul to know what it is, what it was, and what is being done to it. The no return is not geographical. It is psychological. It is the point in the process after which the soul cannot recover what it has lost and therefore cannot resist the recycling mechanism. This is the trap. The tablets describe it with enough specificity that you have to wonder very seriously whether whoever wrote them was describing something real, something they had direct knowledge of, either because they had been there, which would require a kind of consciousness that could observe the post-death process and report back, or because they had built it. That second possibility is the one that researchers in the ancient astronaut field have been quietly building a case for over the last several decades. We already accept without controversy that the Sumerians believed the human body was engineered. The creation texts say this explicitly. Humanity was not an accident of evolution. Humanity was a designed product. If the body was designed, why not the soul? And if the soul was designed, the system governing its behavior after death could have been designed at the same time, as a feature, not a side effect. What would the purpose of that feature be? The same purpose as the creation itself. Labor, continuity, ensuring that the workforce never truly ran out because the souls were always being recycled back into new bodies. The mining operations described in the Sumerian texts were not short-term projects. They were permanent infrastructure, and permanent infrastructure requires a permanent workforce. But if you are operating from the Sumerian framework, the amnesia is not a side effect of biology. It is the entire point. A workforce that remembered being a workforce would be a workforce capable of revolt. The Atrahasis epic describes exactly such a revolt among the Anunnaki workers before humanity was created. The solution was not to give the new workers better conditions. The solution was to give them a new kind of amnesia. They would not remember their divine origin. They would not remember their previous lives. They would not know they were in a cycle. They would simply be born, work, die, be recycled, and be born again indefinitely, without ever accumulating enough continuous awareness to understand their situation, let alone resist it. The Gnostics, millennia after the Sumerians, were describing exactly this when they wrote about the Archonic system. They had arrived at the same conclusion through a completely different tradition. The soul is trapped. The trap is elegant, and its elegance lies precisely in the fact that the trapped soul does not know it is trapped. There is a word for a system designed to capture and hold something without the captive's awareness of its situation. The word is a cage that looks like freedom. That is what the Sumerian tablets describe. The afterlife is not heaven, it is not hell. It is a processing system, and the processing is happening to you right now in the sense that you are the product of that processing. You are a recycled soul in a new body with no memory of the process that brought you here. Everything that you are, your preferences, your fears, your relationships, your sense of self, was constructed fresh in this lifetime with no continuity from whatever came before. The tablet does not say this to frighten you. The tablet is not concerned with your reaction. It is documentation. It was written by beings who understood the system either because they experienced it, observed it, or built it. The question of what to do with that information is exactly where the ancient esoteric traditions pick up, because they all agree on something. The trap can be identified, and something that can be identified can potentially be avoided. The preparation required is not complex in description, but is described as extraordinarily difficult in practice. It requires that a person develop, during physical life, the kind of continuous awareness that the dying process tries to extinguish. The traditions call this by different names: presence, wakefulness, witness consciousness, the clear, unmediated awareness of the original mind, before thought, before identity, before the structures of personality that the gates will try to strip away. The reason you develop this awareness during life is not because life is where the tests happen. Life is the training ground. Death is where the exam occurs. The 7 gates of the Sumerian underworld, each stripping one more layer of the self, can only be navigated by a consciousness that does not identify with the layers being stripped. If you are your memories, the loss of memory destroys you. If you are your identity, the dissolution of identity leaves nothing. But if behind all of that there is something that simply observes, that does not cling to what is being taken, then that something, the witness, can pass through the 7th gate with awareness intact. That is what Inanna does. She surrenders at each gate willingly. She does not fight the process. She does not try to hold on to what is being taken. She moves through all 7 gates naked, stripped of everything, and she survives. Most souls do not do this because most souls do not know it is necessary. They arrive at the 1st gate with their full personality intact, resist the stripping, and fail. The gate is stronger than the resistance. The awareness that should remain